Welcome to the Productpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Jelarzak, product development and marketing coach and mom of three. Learn from and get inspired by women entrepreneurs killing it in the product space. Each episode, we will share the latest trends, proven strategies, and inside secrets of the product world, all designed to give you greater confidence to create your own success through a product venture. Let's do this. It's my great pleasure to introduce two very special guests who are rocking it in the brand and marketing world. But first, let me share a listener review. This is from JMD_Meg. I'm just going to call her JMD. She says, I love this podcast. So much inspiration to help me in my own little business. So nice to have this focus on female entrepreneurs and to support all of the female mompreneurs out there. Thank you so much, JMD. I am so happy that it helps your little business. And I'm just going to say big business because you will get there, my friend. Now, if you're listening to these episodes and you haven't already done so, please take a minute to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. And I would be so grateful, and you're going to help others find the show. Also, you may have heard that I'm offering a free one-on-one strategy session at this time. This is perfect for you if you'd like help with scaling your product business or if you're thinking of launching a product. We'll talk about your business or idea and you'll walk away with action items, and I'll let you know what working with me is like if it's a fit. You can go to NicoleJelarzak.com and book it there or click the link on the show notes. Back to the show. I'm excited to introduce Erin Dean Williams, branding and web design expert, and Nathalie Amlani, personal brand strategist and photographer. And together they partnered up to launch the Sunrise Brand Studio. Erin has been designing websites and brands for both large corporations and smaller startups for over 10 years. She is dedicated to serving entrepreneurs and their dream businesses and helping them tell their stories and share their gifts on the web with delightful branding and websites they can grow their business on. Nathalie is a passionate entrepreneur and visual storyteller with over 15 years experience in strategy and project management. Nathalie holds an MBA from the Rotman School of Management and is a personal branding expert that helps women entrepreneurs shine online with authentic images and storytelling. You're going to learn so much about building a beautiful brand presence. So let's get on with the show and meet these wonderful ladies. Welcome, ladies. I'm so excited to have you here. I've just been following your journey, and you ladies are such powerhouses, and I'm so inspired by all that you do. So thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Can you please just share with everyone, tell us what you do and how you help women entrepreneurs?
Well, I'm a graphic designer and web designer, and Nathalie's a business strategist and branding photographer. And the Sunrise Brand Studio offerings are designed to help business owners really level up their brands so that they can sort of rise to the challenges of business and be inspired to have a growth mindset and just lead more joyful and abundant lives. We sort of have 3 pillars that we like to explore in our events, our podcasts, and social media content. So we focus a lot on business, obviously. So just giving people the information they need to sort of transcend beyond what currently seems possible. So we have guests that talk about strategies for marketing and content. We talk about web design and podcasting, money, growth, your brand vibe and your vision, and showing up authentically. And then we also touch on energy. So we like to teach people tactics to keep their vibe high, and we explore things that help sort of shape mindset to help, business owners stay sane and succeed. We both feel it's really important. Mindset's really important in business, and getting those tools and things to help with that is really valuable. And then we also touch on, obviously, we want to give a lot of insight into how people keep going, how business owners stay healthy and exercise, different sort of options for personal development. We talk about confidence and obviously photography and camera looks, and then, just showing up authentically.
That's awesome. I love that you combined the 3 because you can't have a successful business without a healthy mindset and also a healthy lifestyle. You can, but maybe it just won't last as long, or you'll have burnout. So I really love the combination of all those things. So you recently decided to partner and create the Sunrise Brand Studio. So I'd love it if you could share, why did you decide to partner together, and what was the inspiration for the studio and the collective and all that you've created?
So Erin and I met each other when we first started our businesses years ago. So when we first became entrepreneurs and entered that space, it's always really nice to have someone like just to kind of grow your network and be in some sort of networking groups. And so we would see each other often at various events and marketplaces, each of us doing our own thing, trying to promote our business, getting the word out there, trying to meet other people, learning. And then we finally worked together on a branding photography project for her business. So her previous product-based business was Pokemono. And that's where Erin, she would design and sell organic kids clothing.
Mm.
So we worked on some projects together, and then Erin also modeled in some branding shoots that I did for other clients, so her and her kids. So we would see each other pretty often. And then as my business Picked on It Branding Creative started to grow and Erin's business as a graphic and web designer then kicked off, we noticed that our services really complemented each other well, and that our audience, in many cases, they were working with many different companies or people on their branding. So when you do that, it can result in a lot of like rework, having to tell your story again, the strategy being a little bit disjointed. And sometimes it could result in like a higher overall cost and just longer to like implement
Mhm.
because you have so many different touch points and different people that you have to decide whether or not you want to hire them. So we found that, if we were to work together, then we could deliver like an end-to-end strategy to a client, like all in one, almost like a one-stop shop. So we created some joint packages that we did together, and also created some opportunities for businesses to learn and grow, because we realized that sometimes businesses, maybe they're just learning and not quite sure what they want to invest in yet. And investing in branding can be really expensive when you add everything together. So, and it's not something that you do just once, it's something that your brand is always evolving and changing. So we want to create that mindset that there's always opportunity to do something for your brand in some shape or form. So to be part of the customer's brand journey, wherever that they're at, we wanted to create some sort of community so that people can come together, they can learn and grow together, they can get access to information, either free or like at a smaller investment. So that's where we created the Sunrise Brand Collective Facebook group. So that's our free Facebook group. And we also created the podcast. So the Sunrise Brand Collective podcast, where we release episodes weekly. And we also created a Sunrise Online Brand Boost Mastermind. So that's also a smaller investment where people come together and they have us helping them to be accountable. They get to learn and grow in a group setting. And it's almost learning how to do things themselves, to be empowered. And something that makes us really unique is that we really believe that the success of a business is at least 3/4 mindset and then 1/4 strategy. So we really try to bring in experts and then also share our learnings and what works well for us in terms of cultivating that like growth mindset. Right.
Mm.
So really, working with like soul-centered people to really help their businesses grow and thrive in a different way. So it's not just pure business strategy. Our main goal is to really provide that guidance on that like visual brand journey, incorporating mindfulness, so that it really leads to both business growth and joy.
I think that's great. And it actually comes through in your branding. So the whole Sunrise brand, all the vibe around it, and even the name makes you feel joyful. And I was like, oh, I want to join that. And so
Oh,
well
cool.
done on your own
That's good
brand.
to hear.
It's so true. And I think you just
Mhm.
created something beautiful where people can come, feel comfortable. You guys have just such warm energy, and people can also learn. But I feel like what you've said is really important about the mindset piece. And a lot of people don't realize that, or they might think it's kind of woo woo, but it's so key to growing your brand or even growing a business. And if you don't have the right mindset, then you absolutely won't move forward because you're not going to take action and you're not going to believe the right things.
Right.
And speaking of brand, can you give us some top tips for creating a magnetic brand?
For us, we really like to focus on authenticity. So being yourself, like really owning your brand vibe. So, there's meaning behind your colors, there's meaning behind your typography, really thinking through how like your photography styles and sharing your story, your evolution, right? So, some people may have similar products, but nobody has the same story. So that's really important. And then also showcasing your values, because that's a place where your ideal customer avatar or your customers are going to really connect with you, and you want to have those connections and engage that audience. And also just showing up so people know who you are. A lot of people hide behind their product or brand name, and people are curious creatures and they innately just want to know who's behind the brand. So showing up even once in a while, like once a week, just to be like, hey, this is me, I'm the face behind the brand, or however you feel comfortable, or in whatever way kind of makes sense for your product.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And I love how you mentioned about values, because it's so important to ensure that your values are coming through in all of your branding and what you're creating, because people are attracted to that. And then
Right.
also showing up, because a lot of product businesses feel like they can't really show up. It's more about their products. But actually, the more you show up, the more of a relationship you develop with your audience, which is great.
Right.
On that note, how would you say that people should show up, or what is the best way for people to show up and sort of weave themselves into their brand?
So, for example, people can show up. I find that storytelling is really powerful, and storytelling can really show up in so many different ways, right? So, if people want to show up and weave in their story, then one is the obvious for them to show up themselves, right? So, with product based businesses, they may not necessarily be the face of the brand, but it's always nice to see who's behind the brand every once in a while, or perhaps it's telling the story about the brand, about an idea that came to fruition, or a story about the product itself. So how is the product used? What does a day in the life of a product look like, right? Where does it stay or live? Who's using it? What does the customer look like? And then other ways of showing up is just even through stories, like something that's really quick and
On
casual.
Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm. Showing the behind the scenes is always nice.
Blogging helps build your brand credibility. If you're blogging once a week or once every couple of weeks, then it just reinforces your expertise and can reinforce the value of your product as well. And then doing things like guest podcasting and and
That's right.
podcasting and guest blogging. So there's actually a lot of options for people out there. And that's something we try and sort of expose people to in our collective. It's like, hey, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's blogging, there's podcasting, there's a lot of options. Try and find something that sort of resonates with you.
Yeah, you're right. There's so many options. And there's just always a new option out there. And people are just trying to figure out Reels and TikTok right now. But there's
Yeah.
always going to be something new. And there's so many different ways to show up. And you can also
Yeah.
differentiate yourself from other brands by showing up, because not a lot of people do want to show up and show their face. So you really are starting to differentiate yourself that way. And how can product business owners get to know and become more intimate with their brand and their customers?
I think for your branding, it's really going back to your why. Like, why did you create this product, and what gets you excited about your business and serving your customers? So I think intimate's a good word, because it's about the feelings behind your brand. Like, what was that drove you, that got you excited to go through this process of creating this business and becoming an entrepreneur? And for your customers, it's really, how do you want your customers to feel when they buy your product, or have touch points with your brand on social media or your website? What do they value? How do you get into their head? And how do you want them to feel when they come across your brands? And just thinking about who your muse is, like, who did you create this product for? Who was in the back of your mind when you created this, and who's helping you evolve your product? So yeah, just getting into those feelings on both sides, customer and your own brand properties.
And then we also notice with some of our clients that when they reach out to their customers and almost ask for input, like it could be a fun poll such as, which color do you prefer, this color or that, or like your vote matters, which pattern is the best. And it just gets customers excited and it makes them feel like they're part of the brand itself. So some sort of engagement is really key, and really talking to the customers. Like we have a brand who's putting out, because their target audience is moms with kids. So they're putting out posts where they're talking about like mom life, right? Things that are really relatable, that are funny. So then it just kind of brings a little bit of different flavor into their like audience's day, I guess. It makes it relatable.
And shows that you sort of understand their problems too.
Yeah.
And that inspires people and gets them excited to engage with you.
Right. Yeah, I love the idea of creating polls and really talking to your audience, either through polls or just building a community or whatever it is, and getting close to them, because that's how you know if you're really reaching them and speaking to their needs and wants and so on. And so I think that's just a brilliant idea. And you can also, like, could start to get into your own head a lot of times. I feel like brand owners and business owners, if they're not talking to their customers, they start to think in their own mind rather than think about what their customers want and need. So that's a great point. And I also want to chat with you guys about websites and social media, because these are some of the best ways that brands can communicate their message. So, what would be your tips on how product business owners can use their website and social media in the most effective way to communicate their message?
I think both your website and your social media properties are your opportunity to showcase your products, share your brand values, and again, build credibility for your brand. So there are places where you can share like the story behind your product. You can share customers enjoying your products, and then also just behind the scenes struggles that you have as a business owner and taking them on that journey. I mean, a lot of people will never experience being an entrepreneur, or maybe they're on the fence about being an entrepreneur or a small business owner or having their own product. So you can also inspire people. So there's really, the sky's the limit, but there's a lot of opportunity to really engage and get close to your audience through both your website and your social media properties.
Totally. And they're very visual as well. So people can see not only the words, but also the visuals. And in terms of conversion, then, so when people come to their website, not only do you have to communicate your message, but you also want people, obviously, to eventually buy. So what would you find are some top tips for conversion, but also some kind of mistakes to avoid?
Well, I think before you even create content for your website, you want to really think about why people are coming to your website. So you make sure that your content and the structure of that content and navigation helps them find what they're looking for as quickly as possible, and that your messaging really gets them excited about your products. I think for your homepage specifically, which is typically your customer's first touch point within your website, you need to tell potential customers what it is your product does and how it'll make their life better or solve a problem for them within 5 seconds of landing on your site. So you really want to create a strong, succinct one-liner that communicates this information. I find a lot of websites you come to and the imagery might not match the headline, or the headline says is just doesn't tell us what your product is or what it does, right? So people lose interest really quickly. And I think the other big thing is to create a website that can be quickly scanned. So people can scan your website and quickly see what it is you do, what value your product brings, how they can get your product, have clear headers and really succinct text. because people aren't going to read your website. They're on their phones a lot of times. Like I think the stats are now like 60% of people will only ever see your website on their phone. So you want to make sure that the content that you're giving them is succinct and relevant and driving them to take actions. I find websites either have way too much copy or then they don't have enough. They don't, make those connections. They don't share their values. They don't let you know that they get you and let their audience know that they understand them and that they can help solve their problems. So people are on the site and have no idea why they should really buy this product or take action. You want them to feel like you understand them. And then another big mistake people have is they have all this content, maybe they have a great headliner, but they have no call to action. So people don't actually know how to shop or buy the products. So you want to have language like shop now or buy now, like you need to tell your customers what to do because they don't know. So guide them through that experience. And then the last point, just really quickly, is to have an opt-in for your email list because a lot of times people need 4 or 5 touch points with your brand before they'll buy. So if you can have them on your mailing list, then you can stay top of mind and still have a connection and communications with them, even if they didn't buy on that first visit to your website. So you're still sort of creating that potential for a sale and conversions. So.
Oh, such good points. I love all that. It's my personal pet peeve when I go to a website and then you can't tell in 5 seconds what they do and they don't have like that one liner. That's so good. And also, it seems so obvious to say buy now, but no, it's not. You got to like tell people what to do. Right. So yes, and email is super important. So capturing the emails of people. Actually, do you have any tips on how to capture the emails of people who come to the website? Like I know a lot of people offer discounts, but is that the best way? Or would you say, offer some kind of free resource or?
Yeah, I think both. Like people love to save money. Like even like a 10 or 15% means that, especially in Canada, they're not paying tax, right? So people, if they had intention of buying your product, then that's a great way to do it. But yeah, like a downloadable, like a resource, something that sort of aligns with your product offering. So something that's helpful to them, something that they'll really value and will remind them of you and show that you, again, understand them and understand their problems. So
that's great. And Nathalie, this is probably a question for you. What are some tips you have for photography on e-commerce websites? So, for example, how much would you use lifestyle shots versus product shots?
For product-based businesses, it's always different. Like I always recommend a mix of product and lifestyle because some e-commerce platforms, they require you to have your product shot on a plain white background. So in order to be submitted on that site, you have to have that anyways as a base. So you always want to make sure that you have that clean shot. And then because there's usually the option to like add a few more images in that gallery, that's where you want to include those lifestyle images so that when people are scrolling through and shopping and they're clicking and they're looking at your product for that 5 seconds, they'll see how it looks like to be used. So for example, you would probably want some sort of living thing, like, because it depends if it's like a pet or, because it could be because not all products are for humans, but you would want some sort of like living thing engaging with the product, which would be your like target customer, or perhaps the product in its real life environment, right? So if it's a product for the kitchen or if it's a product for the washroom, you want it kind of in that setting so that people can picture it. And then where possible, I do recommend if it's like a product for an e-commerce site to get it done professionally because then it'll just look cleaner, crisp, and it's already there ready for you to use it and distributed across many platforms. You could use it in marketing materials. You can use it for the year on social media. You can submit it to like wholesalers or whatnot. But I mean, depending on your product, you might need to get it to have it done yourself, right? Maybe you have a high volume of product that's always changing, or depending on the nature of your business, you're I don't know, maybe you're a like resale business where you're reselling like children's clothes and you have to take pictures of it yourself because the volume is so high, then in that case, I would recommend that you have the right setup, done for you. So you get the proper equipment. Maybe it's like your own lighting and photos, but something that's like easy to use, but that you can train your staff on. So the key to that is to have some sort of like process documented, or like a tip sheet, so that anyone who's photographing it will use the same settings. Maybe it's the same settings on the camera, or the positioning of the lighting is the same. And that's probably for a product business that has a little bit more higher volume in terms of what they're shooting. And if it's food, same thing, kind of use the same spot that you're always using for lighting so that it's always consistent, and then you know what to expect. And the reason why you want to do this is because like your primary function is to run your product business, not to take photos. So you are going to forget how you took the photos last month or 2 months ago. So you'll want to like repeat the same process, make it repeatable. And then like some other quick tips is to use a window. Like natural light is always the best. It just, light just falls really nicely around products. So if you're going to work with natural light, then having a window and some white foam boards is always good. And that's just to use to like bounce light off and to have like a clean slate or palette to work from.
Cool. I love the idea of documenting your process.
Yeah.
And say if somebody is doing their own photos because of budget, or because, as you said, they're doing so many photos all the time, is there some kind of studio and equipment that they've got to have? Would you say set up a certain area with the foam boards and have a certain type of camera, or like what would be kind of the minimum that they should have?
I think that they should have some sort of lighting. So depending on the size of the product, you can also buy those it's like a tabletop studio where you put the product inside this like white box
Right.
with
Yeah.
lighting, right? And that's a little bit more for something smaller, but if it's bigger, then at least investing in like a good set of studio lights. It could even be one or two. So it could be a corner of the room or a room that has a window by it if you don't want to use studio light. But even having like a small footprint where you can work with the product and getting like white background paper. So you
Mhm.
can get that from any like photography store. But having white background paper is just so handy because you can put it up anywhere that you go. It's having a small roll. You can even roll it out on the floor and do some quick flat lays.
Right.
Right. So I always recommend that. And then depending on the type of product, you might want to have some props to make it look nice. So
Mhm.
if it's a clothing brand, then maybe you want to have some nice, I don't know, hangers or different props that are related to it to bring out the like colors.
Those are all great tips. I think that, yes, I agree. Like professional photography is ideal. I know that some people are bootstrapping themselves, so they might need to do that in the beginning. But photography is so key for a website. And you can tell when shots are professionally done and when you've got these beautiful lifestyle shots. It really just makes you want to be a part of that lifestyle and purchase the product. So I really agree with the idea of getting professional shots. If you could name any brands that you admire, who would they be? And who do you think's doing it right when it comes to product brand strategy?
There's a brand I've been following around. It's a toothpaste brand, actually, of all things. They're called Bite Toothpaste. I like them because they kind of like, they've disrupted something that is so normal, such as toothpaste and toothbrushes, in making it more environmentally friendly. So their values obviously really show in the brand. They care about the environment. The toothpaste itself is very healthy as well. So they seem to be authentic and heart-centered and care about people's health. And they have really consistent branding across all their touch points. So when you go to their website and you go to their social media, you know what they do, what their values are, and how they're differentiating themselves from their competition, and what makes them unique and different. I really like that brand.
Cool.
If we're looking at a large scale brand, Apple is hands down so successful. They're just really consistent in their branding. They really push the boundaries to create a user experience that is unique and engaging. They're very relatable, and they're constantly evolving, coming out with new products, and you have to like keep up. So they have made their products in a way that are almost like addictive. Like people get hooked on using it. And there's so many integrations with other products, right? So if you're buying a Peloton bike, for example, you can integrate it with your Apple Watch. And then like, so let's say that we're all in the same room, we can drop files to each other's phones. Like they just made the technology so advanced so that everyone can talk to each other and use it together. So I find some of the elements that they've executed are just really great.
Yeah, they're such a powerful brand, and they're so clear in their communication, and it's not cluttered with, oh, here's all the features of our products. It's just, maybe two words, think different, and you see very crystal clear packaging, and it's all beautiful. It's very aspirational, and you're willing to pay a premium. They never go on sale. You're always willing to pay the price because you know it's Apple and what they stand for and the good quality. I swear my MacBook, it's been around for 10 years and it's still working. So yeah, it's really good. That's a good example. Okay, cool. And what are your top tips for people who want to get started with their own business and looking to start their own brand?
Well, I think huge on top of that list is networking. So however you can, if you like entrepreneurial groups, if you're a female business owner, you can join like women entrepreneurial groups. And then when things start to open up again, going to events and connecting with other, product owners as well. And so you can share insights and help each other rise. So.
And also getting a coach or like a mentor,
Yeah.
someone to really help keep you accountable. Because part of a product-based business is you're bringing this product to the world, but then there's also the business side of it and strategy side of it that can be overwhelming. And to have someone help guide you along the way for that, it just contributes to making it that much more profitable, setting you up for success. And it also helps you like remove any fears of like charging what you're worth or like taking that next step. Because every part of the entrepreneurial journey can be hard, right? There's always something that might make you doubt what you're doing. So having a coach or a mentor has been really helpful for us.
I didn't pay you to say that either.
I think especially with a product-based business, because there's so many stages to it, right? So you have to create your product. There's a whole like supply chain aspect, and then there's the like customer life cycle, like the whole customer journey. So having everything documented, all the business processes understood, I think would be really helpful, especially when you're scaling, so that there's consistency. Like if we even think of, I was reading the book, The E-Myth Revisited, and they talked about McDonald's and how anywhere you go around the world, when you consume like French fries or the burgers, they're all cooked and made the same and they all taste the same. That's because the founder was so keen on having the processes followed exactly the same way and making sure that it was consistent everywhere. So if you want that product experience to be received the same anywhere in the world, like I would imagine that would be something that could be the key to success as well. And then I guess in terms of like the other tip I'd recommend is really telling the story all the time in every part of that product's journey, and really answering those questions of like who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? So how would you use it? Who would use it? Why would you use it? Right? Just constantly reminding people, because your product is there to answer or solve some sort of problem, right? And then like, what is the product? Where can someone find it? So always answering those questions and making sure that the customer knows the answers to those, whether it's through a blog or social media, on the website, but always enforcing it in some way.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because people forget and they need to see something, I think, a few times before they actually buy it. So yes, you're reminding them. That's great. Such good tips. Okay. And actually, let's switch gears. balancing mom life. I know you are both moms. Do you have any tips on balancing mom life and running your business?
You definitely need to set boundaries and know when to say no. You become very picky about who you sort of have in your life and what you say yes and no to. I think definitely planning ahead, business development, thinking about the calendar year, and for me, and I'm not always consistent with this, but I work much better when I'm scheduling in everything, when I've got everything in my calendar and I've got time set aside for my kids and my client work and my meetings and my business development. That really helps. And then early mornings. So waking up before everybody else and just, whether it's to get caught up or just to have time to yourself is huge for me. Like I don't know what I would do without my mornings to myself. So
awesome. Are you one of those early morning risers with a morning routine?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. What's your routine?
Erin is for sure.
I do meditation and then some kind of exercise, whether it's my boot camp class or a yoga class. And then now I've just actually recently started a dance class. So
oh, nice. So that's cool. Wait, okay. So gyms are closed. Are you doing it indoors or?
Yeah, right now I'm just in my living room.
Okay,
So
that's amazing.
I just pushed the coffee table out of the way and
yeah.
Yeah.
I always admire those early people.
Yeah, I wasn't always that way, but I was like, something's got to give. I need time to myself. So
that's right, for sure. Natalie, what about you?
I find scheduling time for self-care is always great. So whatever works, but it could be once a week or, for example, for my business in photography, I have certain times of the year that are really busy. So I know that I'm going to have to work extra hours, longer hours during that time frame, but I always make sure to schedule in like some sort of day of rest so that I can recharge or else I'll burn out. So that's been a lesson learned that I really had to learn over the years, but same with product-based businesses, right? There's going to be times of year that are kind of considered high season, perhaps. So planning in those self-care days in advance so it's in the calendar and really protecting those days. I never realized the importance of it, but if I didn't do that, then it just really adds up. So really scheduling in that time for yourself is so key.
Yes, that's so true. Believe very much in self-care and especially as a mom, like we just need that time or else we won't be as great moms as that we want to be. All right, cool. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just like, don't take things too seriously. Remember, this is all a journey and it's all about growth, and try and have fun with it. However you can, like, don't overthink things, and just know that this is all part of your journey and there's no mistakes. And at the end of the day, really having that growth mindset is going to make you happier.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks for that. That's so good. I needed to hear that too. Natalie, anything else?
And to ask for help when you need it, right?
Yeah.
So times can be tough. Things are constantly changing in our world and there's a lot of uncertainty. So just talking about it, asking for help, and you just never know who's going to be out there who can give you that piece of advice or put you in that kind of perspective that you wouldn't have thought of.
Totally. Yeah. It's so hard sometimes for us to ask for help, but it's so important. And when we get it, it's like amazing when we actually feel like, wow, we're actually getting help and we have someone beyond ourselves to work out a problem or whatever. All right, cool. Thank you so much, ladies. Tell us how people can find you and your services.
We have our website, sunrisebrandstudio.com. We have Sunrise Brand Studio on Instagram, and the Sunrise Brand Collective Facebook group is our collective group where we have guest speakers, share insights, and it's a free group to join. And then we also have our Sunrise Brand Collective podcast.
Awesome. So everyone go listen and also join the Facebook group so you can hear more from these wonderful ladies. Thank you so much to you both for joining us and for taking the time. And I can't wait to see how your journey progresses. You're both doing amazing. And thanks for all that you do to help women entrepreneurs.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Productpreneur Podcast. If you loved this episode, we'd be so grateful if you could take a sec to subscribe, share it, and review it on Apple Podcasts. Your review will help more women build their own dream product business. By the way, if you have any feedback, comments, or questions, email me at info@nicoledelarzac.com. Until next time, keep dreaming up those product ideas.